Normally, this is the part of the show where we would go ahead and dive into the game that we watched last week. We're not going to do that this week. We are going to talk about it, but we have bigger fish to fry. And honestly, Jordan, I'm a little tired of talking about it at this point.
Me too.
And I'm glad that it's finally come to an end. But we have to talk about Boo Carter officially entering the transfer portal, getting dismissed, whatever it is he claimed that happened. He is gone from this program now. Tennessee no longer has to deal with the locker room cancer. So I don't know why it took so long for this to happen, but here we are. Tennessee has finally gotten rid of Boo Carter.
Yeah, in retrospect, I mean, it's starting to look like he should have just got dismissed from the during the offseason. But I don't know if you saw this online, but before I got on the show, I saw that. Now, I haven't investigated this to see if it's actually true, but I'm assuming it is. A Facebook post from Boo Carter's mother, and she was saying quite a bit on there. Was mentioning some stuff about an unsafe environment at Tennessee.
A lot of words we can't say, Jordan.
Yeah, a lot of words. I'm just like skimming through this, seeing what I can say. But
a lot of it I can't understand. I'm not even trying to be mean. I can't understand half the stuff she's saying.
Well, it's like some of it's like she's almost speaking in riddles on here. But yeah, I mean, long story short, she's unhappy, trying to defend her son, saying something about there being unsafe situations with him and in his environment. And I've heard rumors into that. I don't know what's true. I don't want to speculate on that, so I'm not going to bring it up. I mean, if things come into play and more truth ends up coming out, of course, we'll talk about it. But yeah, I mean, Boo Carter's officially gone now. I mean, I think we've expected this throughout the season. We've talked about it ad nauseum at this point. But maybe Tennessee can finally move on now, finally get over whatever was going on with that situation, like with him leaving to go to California and everything, apparently wanted to go to Colorado. I mean, that's where I'm expecting he's going to go to now. I mean, I'm sure Dion probably wouldn't have any problems trying to rehabilitate his situation. But yeah, I mean, I think it's best for Tennessee in this situation to finally cut ties with them, especially because, I mean, we don't know exactly how much Tennessee was paying him, and I'm sure it's quite a bit or was quite a bit, considering that he was like preseason all SEC coming into this year, but just really didn't live up to the hype that a lot of Tennessee fans hoped. And I think a lot of that has to do with the off the field controversies.
So I've prepared us a little timeline here to discuss what has happened going back the last few weeks. We won't do the entire saga because we've documented that in the past. But, of course, in the Kentucky game, he gets burned on a play that he probably could have made in that game that went for a touchdown. You've got more growing discontent at that point from the fan base at Boo. And then you had a situation in the Oklahoma game where you're not playing him on defense. You're just making him return punts, which is part of the reason why he's there. And that did not last but a week because you go into the bye week and early in the morning, John Bryce of Football Scoop put out a piece that said Boo Carter is dealing what he is calling a hip flexor issue. I believe it was a hip flexor strain was the official terminology on it, so he's not going to play. Okay. He's sure. A lot of us are speculating that it might not have happened, but, it could have happened. But I think the speculation increased when it came out that he was not at the stadium during the game. And that, I think, is something that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Fast forward to the press conference on Saturday night. Josh Heupel talking a little bit about it. And what Heupel said effectively was there's a certain standard you have to meet to be in this locker room. And that's the last comment I'm going to make on that situation. So between now and then, they finally find him on Sunday and they dismiss him. I don't know what he was doing over the weekend, but he was not there. not even just not at the game, just unreachable. It seemed like for at least 24, 48 hours until the staff finally did. And the initial reports coming from Hayes Fawcett, Matt Zenitz of On3 and 247 were that, he's planning to enter the transfer portal at the end of the season, and didn't elaborate any further. Well, about 10, 15 minutes after those two reports came out, Austin Price of VolQuest came out and said Boo Carter was dismissed from the football team. So a little bit different looking than what we saw just 15 minutes prior. Different looking report, conflicting information. And then, of course, Boo's mom is posting the medical records on there, which I find it insane that a mother would want to post her child's social security number all over social media. That seems kind of not just goofy, but irresponsible. Why would you be doing that?
Well, I remember there was a situation with Arian Foster, I think, back in the day. I think he posted like an MRI because he had an injury. I can't remember what it was when he was playing in the NFL. And I think people got a hold of his social security number and started trying to like take money from him and stuff.
Yeah, you don't want that. I don't know why on earth you'd leak your social security number by accident on social media. You have to be more conscious of that stuff. I don't think Boo's mom is necessarily the most intelligent person, which is pretty telling of why this situation has developed into the situation that it has. But let's move on here because there is more to the situation that we have yet to address, more stuff that has come out today. So I think in a statement that he released, it was yesterday maybe, or early today. No, it was yesterday. He pretty much said, I didn't know the rules and the team rules specifically that I needed to follow to try and gain back the trust of the team. And I don't know the validity of that. My best bet is not to trust Boo in that situation because we know how Boo is. He's not been a trustworthy character on this Tennessee football team for about the last 12 months now, really picking up in the last 7 months. But you look at what Heupel said in the availability report today, because Boo said he was playing hurt all season. And Josh Heupel was asked by our friend Adam Sparks, who we've had on this show before, did you leave him off the availability report because you didn't think he was injured, or are you trying to get around that? Because one SEC policy is that you have to include players if they are banged up on an SEC availability report every single week that you're playing a conference game. So they left him out of the report, I guess, in the weeks prior. And that would have, aligning with Boo's statement, like if he was playing hurt, he would have had to been on there because Josh Heupel could get fined if he doesn't do that. That's SEC policy. So because you can put questionable on there and leave somebody as questionable and then rule them out before the game starts. Like you can do that, but you can't just leave a guy off entirely and then say, oh yeah, he's not going to play this week because he's injured just out of the blue. You can't do that. And that's what Boo is claiming happened, what his camp is claiming happened. And Heupel said in the press conference that he consulted with trainers, I think after the fact that he was or after he'd been kicked off the team, and the trainer was like, no, there was nothing that led this to happen. So it kind of makes me wonder if they may have potentially fudged some medical records to try and look as if they were the ones that were not in the wrong there. That's what I'm trying to figure out, because I know people were reacting to that online. And it's like, Josh Heupel would have incurred a pretty significant fine by now if he had lied about Boo Carter's injury status, and we would have heard about this by now, but we haven't. So I have to side with Josh Heupel on this one. Just with the fact that what he did in the end was right. Why he let it drag on all this time, we'll never know. And it probably would have been best if they had ended it, say, in August as opposed to November. But that's where we are right now with the Boo Carter drama. It is finally coming to a conclusion.
Well, I know like everyone back in the day, like, we were all kids at one point. We would all definitely played up being sick before and if done that with doctors. I'm not sure if you can do the same case with injuries or something like that, but I mean, I wouldn't be too surprised if you could be like, ooh, this hurts or whatever. I mean, there's not always a way that you can outright prove it. So maybe that's what happened. I mean, it's just speculation with Boo Carter, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not surprised with any of these situations now at this point. I mean, it's just been going on before the season even started, like all the controversies going on. And then now the medical record situation too. Like, I'm just happy for this mess to be over with so Tennessee can start focusing on football and not all these off the field issues. Cause I mean, it was bad enough dealing with Nico drama during the offseason. And hopefully now that Boo Carter's not on the team anymore, maybe Tennessee can kind of mitigate any future problems and they can learn from their mistakes in the past. And I bet you if there's another incident goes on that's even remotely similar to Boo Carter's, I don't think Josh Heupel's going to have it this time around.
No,
I think
you can't have lenience.
No. You got to be able to control the locker room. You can't have your players running the teams. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thing for Tennessee now that it finally, especially because he got dismissed too. He didn't go out on his own accord. I feel like it sets a precedence that Josh Heupel's just not going to be playing these games anymore.
Yeah, I think that's a nice precedent set by Josh Heupel. If this happens further on down the line, and it's really sad. We say it every time we mention Boo Carter because this is a guy that had the opportunity to win back the fan base this year and chose not to, which is, I think, really heartbreaking. I mean, all the signs are pointing to him ending up in Boulder this offseason. It just feels like his mom, the way his mom's been talking on Facebook, they're all just clowning Tennessee. They don't want to have any association with this place, even when he was on that team. And they said, I think, because she posted the medical record, she's like, show them the great teammate that you are when you go to Colorado. And I'm not trying to bring race into this or anything, but I know some of the comments from Boo's camp on social media were like, you guys are just mad at seeing a successful black man, which is the exact same thing that Deion Sanders was saying in his press conferences the last 2 seasons. It has nothing to do with that. The problem is this guy demanded all this upfront payment, and suddenly he's looking in other places. And with revenue sharing, and you look at how much these fans are paying, and you think, little kids that grow up and root for the Vols, like, not everybody gets the opportunity to run through the T. You know how many people would love to have that opportunity for just a few years of their life to be able to do that, and not get anything in return, like just walk onto the team and do that. You know how many people would love to do what he did? Like millions. I mean, literally millions of people would love an opportunity to run through the T once in their life. But instead, he just urinated all over the power T. He did not give his all for Tennessee, which is precisely why he is headed to Boulder.
Yeah, and it's very disappointing because, if he would have just put his nose down and just grinded and not had a chip on his shoulder, I mean, not only could he have been a good player at Tennessee, potentially great, but like once you're a good or potentially great player at Tennessee, or even if you're a guy that is just stuck around and just refused to quit, the fan base is going to love you forever. You may not pan out in the NFL. You may just go in there for like 2 years in the league and then you're out and you didn't get as much money as you thought. But you know who's going to cover you? Like, who's going to be paying for your drinks at these bars or going to be willing to help you out and extend a helping hand? It would be the fans of the University of Tennessee, the university of itself. Like, we've seen several of these big colleges help out former athletes before. I mean, I forget exactly what the situation was, but I think Vince Young was running out of some luck after the NFL, and I'm pretty sure the University of Texas ended up giving him a job on staff just so that he would be okay financially and everything. And like once you cement a legacy at your college, like you're more willing to get help. But right now, I don't know how many people would want to help out Boo Carter besides whatever team's going to get him next, and whatever team's going to get him next, they're going to have to be tough on him and teach him, like, you can't handle yourself in these ways. You can't have your family out here speaking all of this stuff that reflects poorly on the university itself, reflects poorly on you, and inadvertently hurts your draft stock and all these other things. So hopefully wherever he goes, he can get this situated, and maybe it's a wake-up call for him. I mean, I would say that this is pretty rock bottom as far as it goes, being a potential NFL draft pick in the future. And then now, like, you're getting kicked off of your own team. I mean, we've seen people have success before. I think it was, who was it? I can't remember how long he ended up playing in the NFL, but what didn't Janoris Jenkins get kicked off of Florida? I think, or
he ended up in North Alabama.
Yeah, and then Tyrann Mathieu, he got kicked off of LSU too, right? Didn't he? And then he had a phenomenal
NFL career. Yeah,
yeah. So I mean, there's still time for Boo Carter to turn everything around, but it starts now. He has to start now. He has to take this as a life lesson and learn from it.
Yeah, you couldn't have said it better. And it goes back to the same conversation we had with Jawan Jennings in 2018. Jeremy Pruitt let him back on. It's always a risk with those guys, but if you want to buy in and you want to help the team win, then I think by all means you have to show it, for one, but then your play on the field reflects that as well. You look at what Jawan Jennings did after he got reinstated at Tennessee. He played his way into a late round draft pick, and he's proven himself valuable to the 49ers organization because of his mentality over and over again, because he came in maybe the fourth or fifth best receiver on that team, and suddenly he's the best receiver on the team just because he's, stuck it out there and delivered for them time and time again. So, and I get it. The portal exists for a reason. But I think if you are going into the model or going into the portal to chase money, you're doing it for the wrong reason, I think is the big message here. Because, look, sometimes you get recruited over or you're just told, hey, this guy's here, you're probably not going to have a shot. You may want to look elsewhere just to try and lengthen your playing career, because we've seen that happen in the past, and it's worked for guys like Joe Burrow is a terrific example of that. So, it exists for a few different reasons, or if guys just aren't a fit. Cam Seldon is a perfect example from Tennessee a season ago where it was clear he just didn't really fit into the offense as a taller, lankier running back, so he ends up hitting the portal. I don't know how well he's doing at Virginia Tech exactly, but it's a better fit because he was a receiver in high school. So, sometimes that is truly the case, but I don't see it here with Boo. I don't really think that was the case with Nico either. But that's my rant on money for the night. Although one more thing, Jordan, before we move on from Boo Carter for good, until we start hate watching him in the future. Do you think it's possible that Jacoby Thomas entered the transfer portal this spring because of the deal that happened with Boo Carter? The money being allocated to a guy that didn't really want to be here, instead of a guy that gave his all for the team last year. Maybe he's upset, so he ends up going to Miami for that reason.
I mean, that's a really good question, because I know me and you both were puzzled when he ended up leaving to go to Miami, because he's been a Tennessee guy through and through. I mean, he even played football at MTSU. So you would think that he grew up as a fan or something like that. I never thought about maybe money being the situation there. But I mean, from what I've seen, I haven't kept up with Thomas too much, but I think he got like 2 interceptions last week or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Or at least one that may have been a pick six. So, I mean, he ended up balling out. And in retrospect, it looked like Tennessee, if that ended up being the case, probably should have gave more money to him and not Boo Carter. But, I mean, you may be on to something there. I did not – that never even crossed my mind. But, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a theory that I've seen peddle around on the internet. And it's kind of like the South Carolina game and the Connor Stallion stuff that came out in 2023, where it's like this thing made no sense when it happened. But when you hear about that angle, it's like, oh man, that's actually a very plausible theory, and there are multiple different angles that could potentially corroborate it. So it would make sense if that's the case, and if so, then I hate it for Jacoby because they obviously went wrong there.